Welcome back. We are coming to you live this morning in Washington, D.C. with special coverage on tax reform. I am talking right now with the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, Utah Senator Orrin Hatch. And, Senator, we were talking about tax reform. I want to get to the business side of this, because what we know is there will be a corporate tax rate of 20% and perhaps a pass-through rate of 25%. Are you good with this? Would you vote yes for that?
Well, I'd vote yes for that. In fact, I'd like to bring the corporate rate down. The president wanted it at 15%. We can't get it that low, but if we could get it down to the low 20s, we're going to be doing a very good job.
So do you think the members will agree as well? Is this a point where you've got common ground?
I'm not sure we're going to get any Democrat votes, but I hope we will. And I think it's time for us to come together and do a bipartisan job here rather than the continual catfight that we've had so far.
Will you need Democratic votes to get it across the finish line? Because is this going to be the same situation that we saw in health care, where there's so much debate you end up getting nothing done?
Well, I hope we don't need Democrat votes, but I always want Democrat votes because I think it makes things run smoother. That lets everybody know that both sides are working together, which is a really good thing for our country. But I think we can hold together the Republicans on this matter, and hopefully the one or two Republicans won't cause us to lose.
Is the debate more centered more around deductions and which deductions to eliminate, or is the debate centered more around rates and whether or not to keep corporate around 20 and individuals, as we said, 12, 25, 35?
Well, it's both. I mean, we want to work on all those issues and try to get... Look, I'm a great believer that if we cut rates, we're going to be much better off as an economy and much better off as a country. And our business community will respond to those type of cuts, and we need to do that. But I'm for continuing to do whatever we can to bring the high cost of our tax system down, so that we can really compete with the rest of the world. We have to. We're the only country in the world that really can bring stabilization.
And you've got, what, $2–3 trillion overseas. Companies see that they're getting a 13% rate in Ireland. They're going to pack up and move to Ireland. How are you going to get that money back? What's your thought on the repatriation?
They already are packing up and moving to Ireland. What we've got to do is we've got to make sure that we bring our rates down so that they'll come back home. And it's stupid for us to do what we're doing. We make it so that it's almost impossible for American companies to stay or keep their financial business in the United States. They'll keep their offices here, but that's where they'll do all their borrowing. You know, why would you want to pay in excess of 30% tax rate when you can get one for 12.5% over in Ireland? I mean, a lot of companies have taken the position they don't want to leave the United States, and that's a wise, smart position in my eyes. But let's face it, there are considerable companies that have to think it over and say, well, we've got to start thinking of our shareholders, and we've got to do the best we can. So why don't we get wise and bring those rates down so those companies will keep their businesses here? Is it a 10% one-time repatriation fee? What's the plan for that? Well, of course, you know, it's estimated we have somewhere around $2.5 trillion overseas that could be brought back gradually. It won't come back all at once. And if we could, frankly, I don't think we should have to charge any tax rate, but the business community would accept a 10% rate, one-time rate, in order to get those back. But we still have to change the repatriation figures again to really make it work. And we're so stupid. I don't understand why we can't get that done. I don't understand it either, frankly, Senator, really. It's ridiculous, and I think the whole business community ought to come down hard on both Democrats and Republicans and say, we want this done. We're tired of this. We want to do our businesses in the United States of America, and you guys hold the key. And what's so tough about that? Is there any movement on carried interest? I know the real estate lobbyists out there are pretty powerful. Well, I don't think there's any movement on that. You're right, the real estate lobbyists are... I don't think it's a lobbyist. I guess it just makes good sense. Okay, so that it makes good sense, and that's good. Then if that's the way you see it, then I'm happy to hear you say that. On the individual rates, do you feel that you're going to fight for lower taxes even on the highest earners? How does that debate play out this afternoon? I can live with the highest earners being where they are, and they say they can live with it. At least we hear that said from time to time. But it's the middle class or the average worker that we want to bring those rates down so that they have a chance of really achieving success in this society. It's the greatest society in the world, and yet we're taxing them to death. It's just awful. And we're taxing them to death for an inefficient, stupid federal government.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what kills me. If it was really doing even better work or something and really doing the job that should be done for America, yeah, maybe I could go along with that, but it's not. They're just blowing that money. More and more federal employees, more and more federal programs that don't work. And I think we've got to wise up, and we've got to get more people in Congress who actually believe that and believe that we can get things under control, and then start cutting back on some of these crazy programs that are eating us alive.
So is the idea of revenue neutral off the table at this point, then?
Well, I'll put it this way. I think it's always nice to talk about revenue neutrality, but I don't think that should be a rigid rule that stops us from doing what might be the best thing to do over the next 5 or 10 years. Frankly, I wish we could go 25 years. I think we'd be a lot smarter and a lot better off, but we can't under our current budget rules. So, you know, I think we have to watch this very carefully, and hopefully we can get more people who will help this old gentleman named Orrin Hatch to do the things that really we want to do and which really ought to be done.
And real quick, I guess the idea of, going all the way back to 17 doesn't make sense. If you're going to come out with a plan and you get this done, this is going to be beginning in 2018, right? Not retroactive this year.
Well, I think that's a fair statement. I think you're right on the, as you usually are. I watch you all the time. I think you do a terrific job.
Senator, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, it's a privilege for me.
An honor to see you. We'll be watching the developments.
Nice to see you. I'll try not to screw up.
Senator Orrin Hatch joining us there with a busy day ahead and a busy few months ahead for sure.